broadcast for shooters, hunters, and gun enthusiasts. This is the Firearms Radio Network. The bandwidth for this episode of Gun Guy Radio is sponsored by Patriot Patch Company. PatriotPatch.co.
Welcome to episode 253 of Gun Guy Radio. This is a podcast that shines a positive light on the firearms lifestyle. I'm your host, Jake Challen, and with co-host Zach Carlson. This is your dose of positive firearms talk without the politics. Hey, Zach, what's up?
Hey, what's going on? It's been a few weeks. We've had some scheduling conflicts, but we're here. We're back.
So I never look at like stats or anything like that or reviews anymore. We just kind of sit down.
Thank God.
We sit down, do the show. I procrastinate for weeks and finally edit it and post it, and that's usually how it works now, just because we're both so busy and everything, and I hate editing podcasts at this point because I've done thousands. so I punched up the podcast app on Apple iPhone, and I just put in guns, and we're like the third result. So I have no idea how many listeners we have, but I thought that was cool.
Well, here's how we can tell how many listeners we have. Okay, every listener send $1 to me, and then I'll count them up, and we'll find out how many listeners we have. We're going to go full analog here, cash only, in an envelope.
I don't think it works that way.
I almost fell for one of those pyramid schemes when I was younger, when I was a preteen, when those back before, like when the anarchist cookbooks and all those were out, and you have fun with that kind of stuff. And, there was that whole thing where like, okay, you get this list of names, and then you send 5 singles, 1 to each person on the list, and put your name on the bottom of the list. And then it moves up 1 every time. And then, you turn $5 into $50. I was like, well, this logic checks out. Yeah. We were stupid.
No, not we.
Okay, well, you have a different story, I'm sure, somewhere in the records there, but that's mine for now.
Possibly.
Yeah. It's funny when you say about the comment stuff, like you kind of have to learn not to read the comments because, there's going to be jerks everywhere. And, we just released a pistol, another pistol at work, and, Matt, the designer of it, is super excited about it. We all like it. I mean, I bought one personally. It's one of the few guns that, I've bought over the years, from our own designs, and it's a good gun. But he reads the comments on all these Facebook posts and everything. And he's like, well, some people hate it. And I'm like, that's the way it goes, man. Like, some people hate things. Some people or most people like them. Some people hate them, but all the ones that are haters, they're the ones that are putting comments out there. Like, don't worry about it. We'll sell them. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. So speaking of haters, I guess I'll plug this now since it's time for Patriot Patch Company sponsorship spot. Facebook shut us down completely. Patriot Patch Company business page had 170,000 followers. Shut down. We'll
just export the list of all your customers from Facebook then with all their addresses and emails and just email. Oh, that's right. They control the data.
And I don't know if it would have helped, but I was going to go through Facebook and scrub all my spicy memes off of it.
Spicy memes.
And unfortunately I didn't get time to do that yet. They first did like a 90-day ban for a Hitler meme I posted 3 years ago. It was just about Hitler taking the guns. Like there's nothing like not really incorrect about it.
And Mark Zuckerberg's face wasn't Hitler in the picture, right?
No, it had David Hogg as a Hitler youth, but
those are just details.
Details. So, yeah, and then a few days later, they just completely unpublished our page and everything. So that's great. And it won't let me create new pages or manage pages. So I can't even manage a Gun Guy Radio page.
Oh, no. So it must be that, do you think somebody reported something newer and then like there's an algorithm that just goes out and like checks all of your content once somebody, why would they pick you out? I mean, you're not selling guns. Like that's the thing. Like I can understand if you were selling guns, but for patches, like
it's all the edgy memes, man. I mean,
I guess
I think it was the memes. I really do. We have Patriot in the name.
That probably doesn't help.
I've heard that they've been going after anything Patriot because Patriots are now radicals or whatever. I don't know.
Well, your like tagline wasn't like raiding the Capitol or anything, was it?
No.
Well, yeah, I don't know. That's weird then. I don't know. So is there any recourse, or, I mean, is there channels to?
There was no recourse, no options to ask them nicely to reinstate us or anything. It just says you go against our community standards, and you click there's like a link for community standards, and it takes you to just a generic community standards page that basically lumps us in with like pornography and like all the other bad stuff, drugs, and then it gets into really bad, nasty stuff. So we're basically, if you like freedom and you like guns, the social media's big tech is lumping you in with all these other unsavory characters because we're just as bad, apparently.
And your Instagram account is okay, though?
So far, knock on wood here.
Yeah. What seems weird? You think they would make they would put 2 and 2 together? Same database, right? They're running off of?
Yeah. Well, and they're linked too. And there's we still have a Patriot Patch Facebook group, and so far that's unaffected, knock on wood. And I can still post in that. I just can't do anything with pages whatsoever.
Weird. I think you should reach out to those guys that have been deplatformed before and see how they did it. Cause Mike from Mr. Guns and Gear, he was able to reach out to somebody and get it reversed. There's, I think you got to push the right buttons. Or, I mean, is at this point, do we even want it back? Or, I mean, I guess you want it back. It's dollars and cents. I mean, it comes down to money.
Well, and I used to spend, I've spent tens of thousands of dollars on Facebook advertising over the years. And lately, the last year, especially the last 6 months, I've hardly spent anything because they've just completely throttled us. Especially the last year and a half, they've completely throttled our reach with regular posts and with ad posts. Just completely, pretty much made it useless. So we kind of saw this was coming and not surprised by it. Like you said, is it really that bad of a thing? Do we really want it back? Because if we get it back, are we going to be throttled even more where no one can see us? I mean, what's the point? It's kind of
and it's one of those things: is how much effort do you want to put into a platform that just actually hates you and is at any minute could turn it off again? So it's like they control the valve, I guess, on that one.
Well, I thought of that too, creating a fake account and new pages and everything, and it takes so long to grow them and everything, and they can just shut it down once you get back to where you want to be. And
because that page has to be almost 10 years old now, right?
Yeah. Well, no, not 10 years. It's 6 years old. So 6 or 7.
Yeah, I thought you did it when I left Illinois. I thought you had a Patriot Patch already in process. Okay.
No. So, yeah. So Patriot Patch Company helps make this episode possible. Check out the Patch of the Month Club at patriotpatch.co. And really, maybe podcasting is a better way to advertise. I don't know. I've thought of that too. Or shortwave radio, or I don't know. Oh,
you gonna turn into a ham?
Yeah.
Well, so really what people really should do probably is go right to your website and sign up for the email list. Cause the emails are beautiful anyways. That you get a lot more information conveyed in an email than you do a spicy meme.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely sign up for a Patriot Patch Co. email list. You can go to Patriot Patch Co.'s website. Just all you gotta do is Google Patriot Patch. It'll come up. Google, DuckDuckGo, whatever you use. And
and you don't spam them. I think there's an email every couple weeks at max.
I actually need to send them more often because we have more new stuff that I just don't get out there. And yeah, I know people, at least some people want it. So yeah,
no, definitely. Cause the emails they're put together well. They look nice. It looks like there's time definitely invested in those emails. It looks like, so get on that list.
Yeah. Ryan does a great job. He mostly does the emails and then I, tear it apart and redo it.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, Ryan. No, that happened this last week, but yeah, Ryan does a great job with the emails. And, that's something else too, is big tech and everything. And, this kind of goes into some of what I wanted to talk about this week anyways. Us in the gun industry, we just never know when the balloon's going to go up for us as far as tech goes. So, I've started scheduling more regular backups of our email list because, email, we're on MailChimp, and MailChimp, they're super liberal and crazy. And then the website is also on a platform that's super, not freedom loving whatsoever. And
is it a Shopify? Is it?
Yeah. And we're still on Shopify. Yeah. And, yes, I know Shopify's anti-gun and all that and everything.
Yeah, but you're not selling guns. That's the crazy thing. You're not selling guns. You're selling vinyl and PVC. What is the difference?
Well, I say that though, because we get like these program people. They're like, you're on Shopify, I'm not going to support you. Or you're on Facebook, I'm not going to support you.
Oh yeah. So you take your small business, invest $100 million into a platform that you can build your other business on, or just use one that's already box stock that has all the SEO and everything worked into it. Like that. Come on, people, be real.
Well, and like moving away from Shopify and MailChimp alone would cost us hundreds of dollars more a month. And we're just a super tiny business. I'm like, that just doesn't make sense. I mean, that adds up to thousands of dollars a year, every year over year. And, for now, and it takes a lot of time to rebuild a website and everything.
Oh my God, it does. Yeah. Yeah. It's hard. I mean, like we have a system that we're on that's fully custom at work, and we're looking at like, okay, what would it take to replace it? Cause it hasn't kept up with the SEO and all the crazy algorithms and all the just stuff that you need to have a high ranking website these days. And yeah, like a Shopify came up and like BigCommerce, all those other, platforms, but it's like, I almost don't want to have one that's on a third party, platform like that. I mean, I'm almost, even though I don't like WordPress type sites, but like those types of things that that's open source and is on your own server that you control, even though it's not perfect, like that appeals to me now after, more than ever. I would have just said, oh yeah, let's do BigCommerce or whatever. Cause they're a lot slicker. They have nicer features and all that, but it's like, you never know what's going to happen. And our whole business runs online. It supports every employee. Without the internet there, we're dead.
Well, and a lot of, big gun companies have, and tactical type companies have transitioned when the whole Shopify thing happened. A lot of them transitioned to BigCommerce because they'll come right out and say they're all about having gun shops on them, and they even have.
That's what they say now. That's what they say now.
and they are based in Texas. Shopify is Canadian. And they're trying to be just like a Shopify as far as the plugins and the interface and everything. And it seems like they probably do a pretty good job of it. But at the same time, they're super expensive compared to Shopify. And ARFCOM got shut down because of their domain. So like that's a whole nother level of this onion. Like, where do you host your domain then? And it doesn't matter what platform you're on at that point. They can just shut your domain off. And
credit card processing's always been a big issue.
Yeah, credit card, and then you go to credit card processing, and it just never ends. So, and I think, off air, we kind of talked about it, how, or you did, about how, you just have to be agile or ready to move if something does go down,
Yeah.
Because
that's harder than it sounds, though.
Yeah. Because it may never happen. It's like, do you put all this work into moving to something that you think is more pro-gun, and then that company goes public, and then they're no longer pro-gun, and then you've kind of wasted all that time. ARFCOM moved to this domain host that I think they're based in Washington State, actually. But like right now, the CEO of that, he says he's all pro-gun and everything, but like, he's an old dude. Like, what happens after him?
Yeah. And pressure from people. Like, what if that domain gets used for some nefarious act that goes public, and now there's a super public pressure against these other companies that are supporting these businesses? A lot of people break in those situations.
Well, and that's kind of where we're at. We're all the big tech and everything, and we don't really want to do politics on this show, but you've got all these like vice grip kind of big giant organizations that are squeezing down on what we do for a living. And it's kind of funny because people outside the industry, outside of what we do, just clueless. They don't have a clue what's going on. Like big tech censorship. What are you talking about? It's business as usual for like 95% of the population, because even other gun owners don't really know this. It's people that are hardcore podcast listening gun owners, I kind of feel, and like real active in social media and the gun world. And that's a really small percentage of gun owners, actually, who fits that bill.
It's funny. We were talking at work about how many gun owners are active gun owners. Like, there's a lot of people that have a shotgun in the closet or a Glock in the nightstand, but they're not active. Like, if you said, "Oh, how many times have you been to the range in the last 5 years?" It would be less than 5 typically, and even that's pretty high probably. And I think there's a vast majority of gun owners that are in that bucket.
Well, not even just that, but how many of them interact with gun groups or other gun owners, and like being a member of the NRA, I don't even count that as anything, because you're not informed just being a member of an organization.
Yeah, but I don't think most people I don't think we should task people with that. I mean, like, there's so many car industry things that probably happen that I don't ever know because I just drive my car, like I don't, I'm not a car enthusiast, like you and your cars are all 50 years old and pieces of crap. So like they're not, all those regulations are come and gone for the cars that you have.
See, that's a trick. You got to buy them where they're all too old for them to regulate.
Yeah.
They're
crazy.
Grandfathered in, we would say, in the gun world.
Yeah, exactly. Well, do you want to do one more? Want to do an extra sponsor read between this topic and gun stuff?
Why, do you have a new sponsor?
No, it's Patriot Patch. You might as well double hit them since you lost the Facebook.
Yeah, I mean, we're on MeWe now. You guys can check us out on MeWe, and I've been trying to figure out a way to use TikTok and some of this other stuff.
Let me see your dance moves.
And no, but I'm not going to video myself for that. I'm trying to figure out a way to video like patches or interesting things involving patches and stuff. So, and TikTok, I've never been on there, and that's just like, you thought like Facebook and Instagram was bad, but like TikTok is a whole nother level of filth and social media. It's just like, do not let your kids on TikTok. Do not let your kids on TikTok. It is awful.
I actually deleted the Facebook app from my phone a while ago, and I just, cause it became one of those habit things, just like, oh, let's see what's on here, scroll. Like, and then 20 minutes later, you're like, I just got nothing out of this experience, and actually I went on, Instagram and I unfollowed so many accounts. I was like, I don't care about this random gun company. Like, it doesn't, I don't care. Like, yeah. It just clutters the feed there. So I tried to distill it down a little bit.
Well, I'm thinking, like, as far as Patriot Patch goes, one way we're going to pivot where social media is not going to matter as much is we're going to start striking out for wholesale more, where medium to small size gun shops carry, or any size gun shop carries our stuff. Cause just organically we've had, pretty good, success with some of these gun stores. One in Arizona that it's like a 2 gun store chain, and they just keep buying more and more. Like they've tried patches, and then the patches are really taking off for them. And then I think, like they're lacking like so much ammo and other stuff that they normally sell. They're like, hey, what other kind of accessory type thing can we start moving? And it's great for gun shops because, being able to do apparel items or patch type items, it's a lot higher margin for them than ammo or guns,
Yeah, and it's universal. It doesn't fit a specific gun or anything like that. It crosses so many boundaries that it makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're listening, and I know we have gun shops listening, reach out to me if you're thinking about carrying some patches or cleaning mats, or we've got cool aluminum signs for the man cave or reloading room. So Jake at patriotpatch.co, you can hit me up there. Anyway, Zach, what have you been up to?
Well, I've shot a little ammo that I shouldn't have because I can't get it anymore, but I got my Mp5. I think we talked about that before, the Mp5K, and I got the machine gun parts ordered for it to convert it over, and that was an experience learning how to do all that and getting it, done, and got to test it, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, shooting ammo that you can't replace, it kind of reminds me of the Simpsons episode where they're hunting the last of the buffalo. And they end up finding the last male and female pair, and they end up killing them too.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt, because it goes so fast too. You're like, oh, I'm just gonna. I think I shot 100 rounds just to see if it worked. Okay, boom, gone. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, it works. And then did another 100. I think in a different day, or I can't remember how many rounds it was, but I think I've got a few hundred rounds out of it now, and it's working pretty good. It's unbelievably controllable. I can see why it was big in like SWAT teams and stuff, and those kind of situations where it just kind of stays where you point it, kind of thing.
Yeah,
it's pretty neat. But HK doesn't really make it easy on these guns. Some guns make it where the bolt and stuff kind of drop in, and they put there's, because like on an auto sear you have to have something typically on the bolt. That's why like a full auto carrier versus a semi-auto carrier on an AR-15, the difference there is what trips the trigger to go full auto, to trip the sear.
Yeah.
Well, the same thing on the Mp5 is there's like a little lump on the bottom of the bolt carrier, and they neuter it on the HK imported, or the SP5K. They don't have the little thing there, and you're like, well, you could like weld a lump on it and reprofile it to make it act like that, but they put tungsten pellets in those carriers to like make like a dead blow hammer kind of action. Really? And so it's like, oh, you don't want to put heat into it. You don't know what that'll do to the inside. So I was able to order a new carrier, but like the factory carrier is flat on the very top of it, like on the round part that rides forward and back. On the very top it's flat. Well, the replacement carrier is round on the top, and it hits this little thing they put in the receiver to prevent you from putting that piece in there. So like you have to mill that piece out, and like there's all these little things you got to do to get it to fit and everything. But it was kind of interesting to do it and test it, and it's pretty neat, and it's one of my favorite guns so far. It's pretty special. I think it's pretty neat. I like it a lot, but it does go through ammo very, very fast. And the magazines are ridiculously expensive.
Of course.
I thought, I'll cheap out. Yeah, exactly. So thankfully it came with 2, and those work flawlessly. And then I bought one of those, KCI mags or whatever, Korean metal bags, and it works okay. I mean, it doesn't work terrible, but it doesn't work nearly as nice as the factory ones, even though they look very, very similar.
That's like KCI mags. That's their tagline. It works okay.
Yeah. What do you want from us? It's cheap. And then I thought I went real cheap, and I did the clear ETS magazines, the clear plastic ones, and, woof. Maybe it needs to break in or something, but when you fill them full and then you do the old HK slap to slap that charging handle down and get it to go forward, it kind of goes, it doesn't go all the way forward. You're like, oh, damn it. So that didn't even go into battery. So you have to like drop the mag out a little bit, pull the charging handle back just a little bit, and then let it go all the way home, and then it works fine. But like, that's not the most conducive way to load your firearm. So I was like, okay, when I tested them again, I was like, let me just download them quite a bit just so it doesn't have so much pressure going up on the round, and still same deal. So hopefully they just need to break in, and I need to give them another, few tries. But so far it's not looking great for the clear plastic mags.
Is there a trick where you can put like graphite in them or something, or is that a no-no to use graphite?
Well, I think it's not so much that it's not that they're not feeding. Once the first round goes in there, they fire fine, or mostly fine.
Yeah.
It's like they have too much spring pressure pushing up on the mag or on the rounds. So when that bolt comes to strip that first round off, it just like doesn't have enough force to push forward and strip it completely off and put it in the chamber. It gets in the chamber, but it doesn't go into full battery.
Just snip part of the spring off.
Oh yeah. then they'll rattle in there. That's always good.
I don't know. So, yeah, heat them up and bend them.
Or just spring for the real good mags, but it's
so what do the good ones cost?
Like $80.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that I saw that. Well, some places have from over 100. I saw this place that sells HK parts had them like for 87, I think it was. And I was really tempted, but I'm like, I am trying to not spend money on guns for the next couple months, because I spent quite a bit the first 2 months of the year. So I'm trying to give the the bank account a little rest for the next couple months. But like everything started coming into stock at, RSR, the distributor. I have wish lists set up, and like a set of headphones that I was waiting on, or, earmuffs waiting on. I'm just like, dang it. It came into stock. So I held steady because I don't really need them, but, I was about to order those, and there was something else that came in. I can't remember what it was, but just like everything, when you don't want to spend money, everything comes flowing to you. Oh, that's what it was. It was, that, what the hell is the brand name? The optics mount that I have on my other guns, the Peak, what the hell is it called? Scalarworks, whatever the hell you call it. That nice machined billet aluminum,
right.
Optics mount. Well, I have one HoloSun still on the factory mount, and I'm like, I want to replace that. So it was out of stock, and I'm like, oh, hey, look good. It's out of stock. I don't need to, tempt myself. So I put myself on the wish list, which I shouldn't have done. And then like 2 days later, I got the email saying it's back in stock. And I was like, oh, great. I'm not supposed to be sending money right now. So I let that one go. And then, there was something else. Oh, and those mags. Yeah, the earmuffs, mags, and optics mount were 3 things that would have made me tempted.
Like 2 house payments later.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, exactly.
That Mp5 is just we were texting or something. I told you that's one you don't sell, Zach. You keep that one.
Yeah, I really should just register it as an SBR, and just that way it's like stuck. I mean, as a machine gun, I don't have to do the SBR thing because that, supersedes that, but, it is pretty cool. Yeah. And I even have iron sights on it too. It's like, I don't even have anything fancy on it. It's like super, simple.
Yeah.
But I actually, so I have a Silencer Co. Omega 9K on it right now, and it's on a 3-lug mount. So it's a real compact 9mm can. I think it's an 1.5 inch can. And it's pretty small, compact. It looks just right on that gun. But then I kept thinking, oh, what else would work on this? What else would be better on these guns? And I only have a Ghost 45 can for pistols. But I was like, ooh, they make, that Rex Silentium cans that I have that are the like tubeless welded baffle stainless steel cans. They're kind of big. They're like 1 3/4. Well, they make a 9mm can. And, I asked the guy, I was like, what do you recommend for MP5? He's like, oh, this custom, 10 baffle one. It's like 7 inches long, and it's like 1 3/4. So he's like, this would be good. But then they don't make a 3-lug mount. So I had to find a 3-lug mount, and then that's out of stock. So I'm buying myself time right now, but I think long term I'll probably buy that bigger can just to see how quiet it really gets. It's quiet, but it's not nearly as quiet as that CZ Scorpion Integral that I had.
Yeah. Well, I think that the MP5 is to keep it plain Jane and old school. Not throw a bunch of fancy stuff on it besides the silencer.
Yeah, I'm not going to put optics on this one. I do want eventually to buy a full-size MP5 as well, and then put a red dot and maybe a laser or something, make that one fancier. Yeah. But this one is just about right the way it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. They're awesome. Yeah, I'm jelly.
So what's your ammo situation?
I don't shoot, so it's pretty good.
Yeah, just keep buying. So you hoard yet don't shoot. I think I've seen memes about you.
Yeah, I can't even buy it now. It's just I did buy a couple things of shotgun because I'm like, well, now all the shotguns disappearing. I need to buy some shotgun shells. I do wish I would have bought some more earlier this year when it was still out here, but yeah, now it's just empty shelves for days.
Well, are you going to try to shoot trap this summer or spring?
Yeah, I don't. I got to figure out when that starts up because I started later in the season last year. But yeah, I totally plan on shooting trap and trying not to suck as hard because I just I got worse and worse as the season went on.
I think that's called inverse.
Yeah.
Law. Well, I actually, yeah. So do you have enough? Wait, do you have enough ammo for the season for that?
Probably not. No, there's no way I do. But one of the head guys that runs it is a FFL, and he's always got stacks and stacks of ammo there for people to buy. And a lot of people do just come in and buy the ammo, like they don't mess around with anything else. So hopefully at least that's still the case where he's got some stuff stacked up in pallets, hopefully.
Is it just one box per trip? Is that what the deal was? Wasn't it like an even number somewhere?
Yeah, I think a box or 2 boxes. I can't even, that was months ago. I can't remember. I can't remember, Zach. I don't know.
Well, I did buy some ammo. I actually found at the Buy Mart, the local Buy Mart here, they have a 2-box limit. So, my wife and I both bought 2 boxes of 55 grain 5.56. Just, whatever that it was. But then I went back that was on a Friday evening, like just before they closed, and they had a good pile on the shelf. So I was like, I'm going to go back in the morning because I needed to go back and grab something anyways. I go back and I checked out and I didn't think much of it, but then I looked at the receipts. They raised the price from the night before to the first thing in the morning, like 50 cents a box or something. And I was like, geez, that's weird. Or it was even more than that, but I couldn't believe that. Like, how would they catch that? Like, why would they suddenly raise the price overnight?
So what were they, boxes of 20 or? Yeah,
it's boxes of 20. It was like 10, it was 10, maybe 10.50. Or I think it was maybe $1 something then, because it was like 10.50 and then 11.60, I think it was, or something like that.
Still not bad though.
It's not terrible, but it's not good once you start paying tax. I mean, we got 8.9% tax out here.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, you guys got crazy. You're like Tennessee. Tennessee has that too. Just super high sales tax because there's no income tax.
Yeah, no income tax. So I did buy 6 boxes of that, but that's about the extent that I've been able to. Although gather.
South Dakota doesn't have income tax either, and our sales tax is only at most it's capped at 6.5. But a lot of if you're not in a town, you can get for 4.5 sales tax.
Yeah, you have no population to support.
Well, that's why I moved here.
Yeah, that's good.
So I wanted to read this post real quick since we're talking about ammo. Matt DeVito, I used to have him on when I hosted This Week in Guns. Matt's a hunter, big time gun guy. He used to own his own gun shop and everything back in the day. But he writes, Friday's thoughts. I've been actively involved in this industry since 2007. I've watched ammo and mag prices plummet after GW let the Clinton-era assault weapons ban sunset in 2004. I watched it all skyrocket again into 2008 with the next changing of the guard. It calmed down some until Sandy Hook. I remember literally watching guns and ammo rise in price in front of me, in front of my eyes online. With every refresh of the page, prices raised and products went out of stock just as fast. Companies listed items as discontinued only to reappear in stock weeks later under a different SKU number and double or triple in price, and they never stayed in stock long. Eventually things cooled off, prices stabilized, but never went back to the 2006 pricing. The prices had doubled, and that's where they stayed. If you don't believe me, I still have receipts that would make you cry, and everyone accepted it. 2016, it happened again, more so with ammo and magazines than firearms, but everything once again went crazy. Then, like every other past ebb and flow, things cooled down, prices abated, availability were also as good as before 2008, almost. You could literally walk into any mom and pop shop and the prices were as good or better than big box stores. There were no limits and everything was in stock. Then 2020, Rona, riots, and the death of a nation, absolute insanity. 2021, 1 month into this term, you can't find anything. What was price gouging is the new normal. Month 1, if you're not sitting on thousands of rounds of your main calipers, I'll pray for you, and I ain't even the praying type.
Yeah, well, basically where we're at.
Another thing Matt says, he says an old timer once told him that every time you go in the gun store or any store with ammo, pick up a box of ammo. Doesn't matter if you need it. Doesn't matter how much you have at home. Pick up some boxes of ammo every time. And Matt took that to heart and did it. And it really made a difference. Just because it's not that much money. Now it is, of course, but like throughout the years, that's like that's thousands of dollars in savings if you would have bought it gradually over time like that versus buying it now,
Yeah, well, in investing, don't they call that dollar cost averaging? You pay some more, you pay some little, you kind of average out over the long haul.
Well, and it's exactly, you're right. It's the exact investing, if you listen to Dave Ramsey, he's telling you to always, if you're to the investment point of the baby steps for his program, but to always, invest, it doesn't matter what the market's doing or anything, but you're always in the habit of investing, over your lifetime. And, the same really could be said for ammo. Over a lifetime, you can, after this craziness is down, just invest in your ammo pile, especially when it's cheap.
Well, that's the problem, though, is when it's cheap, you buy it and you say, oh, it's cheap, I'll just blast it away and have fun with it. And then you never think, well, maybe I should keep, a 10% of this batch for future bad times. But, hindsight being 2020, I don't know.
Well, I think the trick there is to buy more if you're blasting it, to buy, replace what you're blasting and to still stock up for the future. Because especially now, like we just have no idea what the future holds, which is scary.
Yes, exactly. Speaking of not knowing what the future holds, I'm looking at buying a generator.
Just now? Just like...
Well, no, I started about a month ago or so.
I mean, we're basically into the apocalypse, and Zach's like, this generator thing, it's kind of that might be a good idea.
Do you have a generator?
I do. I have
to run your whole house?
No, but to run what I need to run so we can live and heat the house and stuff.
How big is it?
It's not giant. It's like 8 or 10,000.
That's pretty good. That's what our electrician told us, that a 7.5-ish or so will run most people's houses for bare necessities.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the issue with us is that we have electric dryer, electric water heater, and a lot of stuff that I want to get on propane, and that's why I got a big giant propane tank and ran new lines and everything. So I will get to the point where we're running more things off propane versus electric, and then we'll be in a little better position at that point. After we moved here, I picked one up that it runs on gas, and you can also hook a propane grilling, your outdoor grill style propane tank too. And I've ran it on both, and it runs good on both. The one thing to be aware of if you're looking for a dual fuel generator like that is your run time is less for propane. It sucks a lot more fuel for the
one that has less power too, usually.
Yeah, it generates less. So that is a caveat there.
Well, the problem, this is the exact path that I went down. I went and said, okay, let me do a whole home generator, because we have natural gas here. So natural gas usually doesn't run out in a situation like this. So had one of those quoted, and it was like $14,000. And I was like, okay, let me get that was a Kohler. Kohler's supposed to be like, cream of the crop type of ones for that situation. I was like, okay, let me get a Generac quoted, $14,000. And I was like, okay. And the generators aren't what's expensive. It's the installation, the transfer switches, the gas line running, all that stuff. I think the actual generator itself is like $5,000. It's not, crazy, but, so, we're in a newer subdivision that has all underground power. Like, we don't lose it a ton. I think we've been here 6 years, and we've never been out of power overnight. And I think it's been out like 6 hours, maybe tops, kind of thing. Now, I just jinxed it, obviously, but I couldn't swallow $14,000 for a generator purchase all in when we don't really run out of power very often.
Yeah.
Historically.
Right.
But then wildfires is what kills us a lot of times. The wildfires and the winds, the high winds, is what almost every power outage has been caused by, either ice and winds or winds and something else, and just wind typically. And so, I had an electrician out to quote some stuff, and I was like, well, how about a portable generator? Is that going to be good enough? He goes, yeah, for most people, he's like, you can run most of this house on just a portable one, and I was like, okay, so I went down that path, and, cause our water heater, our furnace, and our stove are all gas. So we don't really, that would get us by through there. And he said, to run what they do, I guess there's a couple ways to do it, but I liked his way the better. I had two different electricians quote different ways to connect them, but he basically like shifts all your box, breakers in the box and creates a little room in the box and puts a 50 amp disconnect there as well next to your normal meter input, your main disconnect from the power company. And then they run a receptacle to the outside of the house with a 50 amp receptacle on it. So you basically, you kick that switch over and it switches it between your main 200 amp, service, and then that 50 amp breaker, which goes to the receptacle. And then you just roll up the thing. And my gas line is right next to my electrical panel. So it's like as easy as possible. I had that quoted where they'll tee in right at the meter, put a gas line like down at the edge of the garage, which is like a 15-foot run of gas line, and put a quick, a valve to turn it off with a QD attachment point there.
Yeah.
And then my shed is right there that I could keep the generator in. And when I was starting to look at it all, I was like, okay, this doesn't make sense. Like, cause, natural gas is great because it just runs essentially forever. But if you look at like when you're saying the tri-fuel generators that they do all three, if you look at the ratings, it's like there's one on Costco that a lot of people like, and it's like 9,700 watts gas and like 8,700 watts propane, and then like 6,700 watts natural gas. So it's like the worst possible amount, but it's like the most convenient. And I don't want to run gas because I don't want to store gas. I don't want to, the time I'm needing it, I don't want to be dicking around with gas. And, just if you let it sit in the carbs, it gets all gummy and just so many things. And what I've read a lot was just that a lot of people say propane or natural gas is definitely the way to go, that the carbs stay clean and they just run, a lot simpler because it doesn't go bad in the gas tank kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, well, maybe this whole natural gas thing is just not worth it. And let me see what propane is. And, they have those like 100-pound tanks, they're like a tall boy tank, basically like your grill one, but just taller. And those are fine. That would run quite a bit. But then like, my buddy Dan was saying, like those small tanks, if you try to run them on a generator in any kind of cold weather, they don't off gas enough when they get cold, so that you have to like rotate the small tanks out and put them in the warmth to let them build the pressure back up to be able to run it's like all these crazy things. And the 100-pound tanks, that's like the limit of a size that you could put into like a back of a pickup truck to go get filled and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I called all the propane companies around here and they won't come fill a 100-pound tank at your house. Like, they have the trucks that roam around and fill your big tanks. They won't do the 100-pound tanks, they said. Huh. So, they said 100-gallon tank they will, which is like $1,500 to buy. And it's like a big potbelly tank, I guess. But then I'm like, okay, now by the time you buy a 1,500-pound or $1,500 tank and put the propane in it, I should have just paid for the natural gas line running, cause that's almost $1,000 by itself just to get the gas line run over. And it's just like, okay, so I felt like every day that I researched it, I got worse. Like it was like, it's like, oh, then they say, well, the one Kohler generator guy is like, I told him, hey, I can't swallow that. Do you offer portables? And he's like, oh, you don't want a portable. The power is not clean and it'll fry all your electronics. and there is a valid-ish argument for that, but it's like, okay, is it really a big, I went down this rabbit hole of researching, the total harmonic distortion and everything. And apparently from what I'm gathering is that a non-inverter generator has to run at 3,600 RPM consistently to create a 60 hertz power wave, right? A sine wave. And when you like chug down a generator by kicking on more appliances or doing whatever to create more load, it sometimes can kick down because it can't keep up right away to keep that steady 3,600 RPM. And that's when you get like power oddities coming out of the machine. So I'm like, I don't know, it's probably worth a risk because, I looked at the inverter generators are smaller typically, like they're a lot less wattage. So, but they make these kits that you can parallel them. You put the cables to this like breakout box and then you get them connected and then you get a 50 amp output from that. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. But then like by the time you put 2 inverter generators in, plus the piping to run them both off of gas or, whatever gas your choice, it's like it does not come out ahead at all, even though you probably are getting cleaner power. But, it's like, what does it really matter at that point? Like if it's an emergency, do I care that I'm making my TV have less life because it didn't have as clean of a power? Like I'm not going to be using it recreationally,
Yeah.
So I think I've settled, until somebody emails me and tells me I'm an idiot here. Costco sells a Furman tri-fuel for like $900 normally. Usually it's on sale right now for $6.99 at Costco, but there's none in stock, of course. I've called all 3 that are local to me, but they said that there's like 7,000 on order. So, that in the next few weeks, call back to the clubs and or the stores and they're probably in stock by then. So I think that's the way I'm going to go. It's not as many watts as I would really need, but he said, the guy told me that he's like, just shut off all your breakers and then just turn them on one by one until the generator just doesn't work right. And that's what you found, you know? So I'm going to try that and see what happens. I think it'll just be a little bit of a peace of mind that in an event that I need it, I can roll it out of the shed, quick disconnect to the gas, put the 50 amp cord in the wall, click the switch over or whatever order. I did that out of order, but you know, get it all and just get at least the heater will run. I know the heater will run no matter what. And then anything else I get on beyond that is gravy.
Yeah. Well, and here I've got the quick disconnect for the electric in the like meter box outside for the whole property. So I just need a port below that to plug in the, you know, generator or two is all I need. And I just haven't.
So how are you using it now then?
Got around to it. Well, I haven't had to do it. You know, the longest we had the power out for wasn't long enough where I had to run the freezers or anything like that. We did have baby chicks at the time, so I had to run heat lamps for them to keep them alive. But I don't know. It was only out like probably not even 6 hours, maybe like 4 or 5. And
so you didn't run your heater then at that point then?
No, it wasn't even the time of the year where we were running it, I don't think.
Because that's the problem I have is, you know, almost everybody's furnace, like especially gas furnace like I'm at, the electrical is not ported, you know, it goes right to a circuit breaker. So you'd have to either jimmy rig it by unhooking the wires out of the panel and putting a plug on it and wiring that to your generator. But there's no easy way to just plug right into your furnace to have it run off the generator directly.
No, I mean, my furnace has a switch going into it and I would just wire into that switch. I mean, I do enough electric where I can just, you know, make it work if I have to. So I'm not at all worried about that. I have extension cords I can splice into and stuff and make it work, and it's all the right gauge and everything. So I'm at least handy enough with you know, as far as that goes into electric, I can, you know, make it work. So I'm not concerned about that. But I do need to wire it up where, you know, if I wasn't here, Jenny could just plug it in or something. So it does need done long term for sure.
When I looked at this, Generac makes a gas EFI generator that's like 10,000 watts or just under 10,000 watts. I'm like, oh, that's perfect. Electronic fuel injection, no carbs to, you know, deal with. Well, the funniest thing, it's got a pull start on it, but it also has a battery for electric start. And apparently if that battery goes dead, you can't pull start it because the fuel pump runs off electricity. So you can't. So it's like my luck would be, that battery would be dead by the time I actually need to use it. And then I can't pull start it because it's not running fuel. And so I thought, well, that's stupid.
Well, I used to think Generac was a good generator company until I researched for when I bought this one, and they seem like complete garbage if you really read into the reviews.
Everything I've said is like the last whatever amount of years they've gone way downhill.
Well, and like the full house generators aren't really meant to run your house all the time. Like,
oh no,
for
they're
long
just emergency
term.
Standby generators.
Right. So like people are buying, you know, they think they're prepping and they're spending, you know, $15,000 on the whole house generator, air quotes, where if you're out for an extended period of time, that's not going to keep running. It's going to fail. And really a lot of the reviews on the whole house Generacs I read, they just suck. They don't even work for emergency use. Like they, you know, you install them and then these things sit and people go to use them and then they don't work.
Well, that's what, you know, the reason I was looking at Kohler was that they said that like, Generacs have a system. I can't remember if it's hydraulic or solid, but one of the lifter designs in it, you have to run the engine for so many hours and then you have to shut it all off and reset the valve lash on the rockers.
Sure.
So it's like a weird maintenance thing that like most homeowners aren't going to know how to do. And, Kohler didn't require that. It's either they use solid or hydraulic, or it's one of them uses one style, one of them uses the other style. I can't remember what it was, but Kohler didn't need it. But like, yeah, you're right. They're supposed to start up every so often and self-check, and like they all have Wi-Fi, so they'll alert you if there's something wrong, you know, ahead of an emergency kind of thing. So that's supposed to work. But they all need oil changes and stuff. Like you can only run them for, I don't want to think it was like 100 hours or something. It was not a lot of time. that you had to run them and then you had to shut them down to do an oil change on them. And so a lot of the forums I was reading, or people were just like, yeah, buy the maintenance kits, like the oil filter and oil and air filters and all that, and just stack them deep in your garage, because you're going to have to, in an extended outage, you're going to have to do that multiple times. And that's not when you're going to be able to call a Generac dealer to come service your machine, because you're going to be out there fixing everybody's that aren't working.
Well, and so that's why I went with, cause I went down such a rabbit hole in reviews and everything. And I think I went with a WEN, W-E-N or something, which, I mean, they're not like the greatest one in the world either, but it's cheap. I got it cheap and it puts out a lot of power. It's dual fuel. And, my thought is I'm going to buy a second one here, and at least I'll have redundancy there, and I'll be, way less money spent on something I'm probably never going to really use. That my cost to, value ratio on a lot of this prepping stuff. I don't know. I'd rather use that money for other stuff if it's such a, slim chance that you're ever going to utilize it. I don't know.
The real hard part for me was trying to find ones that were set up for tri-fuel from the factory, but I was really planning on also going down the road of doing the carb conversion kits, because they sell these kits that you just put like a hat over the carburetor and it converts it into tri-fuel or dual fuel from a gas only model. Yeah. That is another option I might still go to, but the Furman is set up. It's in my budget, and it's got good reviews.
So you mentioned where, if you got 100-gallon tank, they could come service you for the propane. So that might be an idea for people if their house isn't like already running off propane or anything. But if you like already grill fairly regular, you could set up like a patio grill that feeds off of that same tank, and then also use it for generating purposes. And then that way it's never old fuel, because you're constantly, or, somewhat regularly getting it refilled because you're using it for the grill. And so it's
propane stores a lot longer, doesn't it?
It does, a long time, but, it would have that, I guess, rejuvenation of new propane coming into it every so often. So for some peace of mind. I don't know. The other thing, is that you can also store, you probably want to get non-ethanol gas if you're going to have some gas.
Yeah, if you're doing gas, for sure. Yeah. I do that on lawn mowers and everything.
Right. And so I've got the big farm tank out here for gas, and I always have them fill it with the non-ethanol. I'm like, give me the good stuff. No ethanol.
Well, if you have that farm tank, you could reasonably get by with a gas generator pretty easily, because you're already storing that fuel somewhat large quantity. I mean, how many gallons is that? A couple 100 gallons or something?
It holds, it's a 300, but they never hold what they say. It holds like 285 or something, which I actually went through 285 in about, 5 months, 6 months, something like that. So I got filled at least twice a year, I think.
I mean, that's plenty of gas for a generator to feed off of for quite a while.
Yeah, plus I try to keep on hand like 4 to 6 of the grill tanks, because we grill a lot in the summer anyways. We go through several tanks through the summer. So, just having that option of either or is pretty cool.
Why don't you feed that off your big propane tank? Just far away, not convenient placement.
If we ever do like a nice patio built-in grill, I will, but this is just a portable wheeled, it's a Weber grill, and I just kind of goofy, I thought, to hardwire that in.
Gotcha.
But it's close enough where, that side of the house, if you ever do like a nice brick, like patio professional grill setup, we could totally, hardwire that in.
Have you looked at how expensive those are?
Well, I've seen the really good deals on them when they put them on clearance too, though.
Because we're redoing our backyard right now, and we have a natural gas line already run into the back patio. That's where the builder put it. So I was like, let me see what they got. Well, and we're gonna put a fire pit in the backyard, and we're like, oh, you know what? Let's do natural gas, run it right off that pipe, and then just dig it over there. And the guy's like, oh, that pipe is daisy chained off of all your other stuff. You have to come right off the meter, because you need the flow, the volume of gas to get those fire pits to work off of it. So I was like, all right, we had multiple people come out and quote trenching a line, basically like 140 feet and dropping in 1.25 gas line. I can't justify it. It's almost like $3,000, $2,500 or so just to put the line in, and then you got to pay a guy to trench it. And so I was like, you know what? I think we'll go with a propane fire pit instead. I could keep the tank right next to it.
Right. Yeah.
So
I don't know. I mean, some of the gas lines are pretty easy to do. I did all the propane lines myself here, so.
Yeah, you have to get it inspected here, and it's each riser it's like I can't remember how much it was per foot of just the pipe, and then you have to buy the risers to get them up off there. Then you have to interface it in with the meter, which I don't super feel comfortable, unhooking all that, and then the trench, and then I guess when you do that, you have to use UL listed fire pit kits. And those are more expensive because they have to, the inspector won't sign off on it if you don't. So,
jeez, you got to live in a state that doesn't have inspections or codes or permits or anything like that. Safety
or population or an infrastructure or roads.
Hey,
an education system.
The roads out here are great. The roads out here are so much better than Illinois. So much
well,
better.
That's okay. That is not a very high bar to be comparing.
Yeah. And I have fiber internet, so Mr. Infrastructure.
Well, that's true. Yeah, that's probably because some grant.
Yeah.
Some rural internet grant. Okay, so we're missing one topic here. What's this on the compound?
Oh, I just thought it was funny. So nothing big and detailed, but I had this compound pop up on Realtor, like a Realtor ad. And so I click into it, and it's this, one of those missile silo compounds that like someone did like a luxury build and everything. It's a ton of money. I forget how much it even is. It's in Kansas, I think, but it was really kind of funny, not funny, because there was an ad right in that listing for FEMA jobs. I'm like, that's a little disturbing.
The algorithm wins.
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting.
So, yeah, I wonder how many people are really looking to build like more of a compound, or like out on the west side of South Dakota here, there's a bunch of those ammo bunkers, World War II ammo bunkers and stuff that they're like turning into communities and everything. And like, I'm like, is that gonna still be a thing 10 years from now? I don't know.
Well, there's a missile site just like 2 or 3 miles from my house here, and my son and I drove to it the other day, or a couple weeks ago actually, and it had it's on this long road that just kind of dead ends into this missile silo, or it's called Missile Site Road actually. And so we're driving, and then all of a sudden there's these gates, and it says, you're on camera and explosives nearby, all these crazy signs, and we're like, I thought it was a decommissioned. It was like an old Atlas missile silo, and so I turned around and we looked it up on the internet, and apparently there's like a mining company that took it over. So the explosives are all the mining explosives and stuff. They use it. But what I was thinking missile silo, I think of cylinder in the ground, vertical cylinder.
Yeah.
When I looked up pictures of this, it's actually like like where they tilt the rocket up from the ground. So it lays down and is covered like with a mound, and then it opens a door, like a pod bay door, and it just tilts up. It was like, that's the lamest missile site I've ever seen.
That's funny because there's missile, I never knew this growing up, but, in Illinois, just down from where we went to high school, Amboy, Illinois has a bunch of those ammo bunkers and everything. And it had a whole military complex and everything just west of Amboy and just south of Route 30. And because I ran the Illinois Gambler through there, and yeah, sorry farmers and people, but yeah, it was fun. But part of that, I think it's part of that one, because there's another one on the other side of the state too, but yeah, I think it's part of that one. There's an actual like explosives company or whatever that bought, a big portion of those just to store their product in, because
Makes sense.
It probably meets all the guidelines and everything still for storing stuff like that. And, it's got the big secure doors and everything. And so I
surplus, it's probably pennies on the dollar what it would cost to build new.
Right. Yeah. So anyways, if you, have a compound and, you have tips on, end of the world prepping, give us a shout.
And don't forget, we want to know how many listeners there are, so send me $1 for every listener, and I'll tally them up and tell you guys how many listeners are out there.
That's right. You can, or send them like a cracker or something.
Whatever. One round of 9mm.
Yeah, that's how you do it. That might not go through the mail. Might jam some letter machines. Patriot Patch Company helps make this episode possible. Check out the Patch of the Month Club at patriotpatch.co, and we have a bunch of new designs. We have Home Depot do-it-yourself shotgun patch, which is pretty awesome, and then a print guns, not money patch. Check it out, patriotpatch.co. And if you need graphics design, website design, check out Ryan Cross at Hunter of Design, and check out Zach on YouTube and any other.
Hey, you can see what I looked like a year ago.
Social media. I don't know. Why do we even plug your stuff? You quit doing it.
I know. I'm so busy with work that I don't really find the time to do any of that stuff.
So you can choose an email, prepper, compound, explosive tips to gunguyradio@gmail.com, and don't forget to check out all the other awesome shows here on the Firearms Radio Network.
And I'll take natural gas generator thoughts too.
Yeah, totally. Email us if you have any experience with actually running your house off a generator for like days at a time. Because, with modern power grid and stuff, that's just not many people even have to do that anymore.
I think most people, even if you are in a full situation, you probably shut them off when you're going to bed. Like a refrigerator doesn't need power 24/7. It just,
right.
Just kind of top off everything.
That's a wrap. See you next time, Zach.
See you in a month.
This has been a production of the Firearms Radio Network. You can find more information at firearmsradio.tv.